The rustle in the night. Jack lived on the edge of a quiet human colony, far from the city lights. His home was small, but his garden was big and full of life. Every morning, he watered his vegetables. Every evening, he sat on his porch and listened to the wind. He liked silence. He liked peace, but one night that silence was broken. It was close to midnight when Jack heard something strange. Rustle. Crunch. Rustle. Not the wind. Not an animal. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The air was cold. The moon was bright. He moved slowly through the garden rows, his boots sinking in the soft soil. The sound was louder now. Something or someone was out there. Then the beam of his flashlight landed on a figure, a woman. She was crouched near the carrots, her thin hands shaking as she pulled one from the ground. But she was not human. Her skin was soft lavender, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her white hair was messy, falling over her face. Her clothes were torn. No shoes, no coat, only scraps of fabric covering her body. She froze like a deer. Jack stared, shocked. "Don't move," he said firmly. The alien woman dropped the carrot and raised both hands. Her lips trembled. "Please," she whispered in a weak voice. "Don't hurt me." Jack didn't lower the flashlight. "Who are you? What are you doing in my garden?" She slowly got on her knees. Her eyes were wide, silver, and full of shame. "I'm sorry," she said. "My children, they're hungry. We have no food. I had no choice." Jack's breath caught. "Children?" he asked. She nodded. 3, hiding in the forest. My ship crashed. No one helped us. Jack looked at her closely. Her fingers were dirty. Her knees were scraped. Her arms had old bruises. This wasn't a thief. This was a mother. "You're alone?" he asked. "My mate is gone. We ran. We sleep in a broken ship," she said quietly. Jack lowered the flashlight just a little. "How long have you been out there?" "Many nights," she whispered. "The little one is sick. I needed something. Anything." Jack was quiet for a long time. He looked at the half-filled sack beside her. A few carrots, 1 potato. She wasn't stealing to sell. She was stealing to stay alive. He looked back at her. She didn't move. She didn't beg again. She just waited, ready for whatever came next. Jack sighed and pointed to the porch. "Come." The alien woman blinked. "What?" "I said come," Jack repeated. "But slowly. You try anything strange and this ends badly." She nodded and stood up slowly. She limped as she walked. Her foot was swollen and wrapped in a dirty cloth. Jack handed her an old blanket and told her to sit on the steps. She sat, her body stiff and cold. He went inside, filled a bowl with water, grabbed a small loaf of bread, and came back out. "Eat," he said. She took it carefully like it might be taken away. After a few quiet minutes, Jack asked, "What's your name?" "Sella," she said softly. "From Korai sector." Jack had heard of it. A peaceful alien colony destroyed during the pirate raids. "You speak English well," he said. "Learned it long ago. Never thought I'd need it." He nodded. "You say your kids are out there?" "In the woods. In a broken shuttle. I didn't want to bring them. Too risky." Jack looked at the trees, dark and cold. "No food? No medicine?" She shook her head. "Nothing, only what I find." Jack rubbed his forehead. "If people find you, they'll call the patrol. You know that, right?" "I know," she said. "But I can't let my children die. I don't care what happens to me." Her voice cracked, on the last word. Jack stood up, walked a few steps, then turned back. "You'll take me to them, tomorrow. I want to see with my own eyes." Sella looked up. "You believe me?" "I believe enough to look," he said. "But if this is a trick..." "It's not," she said quickly. "You'll see." Jack nodded. "Fine. Take this basket. Fill it with what you need, but quietly. No one must see you." She hesitated, then reached for it. "Thank you," she said, barely above a whisper. Jack didn't answer. He turned back toward the house but stopped at the door. "Come back at sunrise," he said. "We go together." Sela clutched the basket close and gave a weak nod. Then she disappeared into the forest just as silently as she had come. Jack stood there for a while, staring into the dark trees. He had no idea why he helped her, but deep inside he knew his quiet life was about to change forever. Her eyes were full of shame. Morning came slowly. The forest was covered in pale mist, and dew sparkled on the leaves like tiny stars. Jack stood at the edge of his porch, arms crossed, staring at the path that led into the trees. He had barely slept. His thoughts were filled with the strange alien woman, the way she clutched the basket like it was gold, the pain in her voice, and the quiet strength in her silver eyes. She said she had children. She said they were starving. And for some reason Jack couldn't explain, he believed her. The sun had just started to rise when he heard the soft crunch of footsteps on dirt. He turned. There she was again. Sela. But this time, she wasn't alone. She held something close to her chest, a wrapped bundle of cloth, small and still. Jack's heart sank. "Is that?" he asked. She nodded. "My youngest, his name is Lar." She stepped forward and gently unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small alien child. His skin was pale blue. His eyes were shut tight. He didn't cry. He didn't move. His breathing was shallow and dry. Jack felt a lump in his throat. Sela knelt on the porch and laid Lar down on a folded towel. "I brought him," she said quietly, "so you would believe me." Jack didn't answer. He knelt beside the child, placing 2 fingers against Lar's neck. Weak pulse. Cold skin. He stood quickly and went inside. Sela didn't follow. A few minutes later, Jack returned with a bowl of warm soup and a spoon. "We don't have your food," he said, "but this will help." She nodded and took the bowl with shaking hands. Sela dipped the spoon and tried to feed Lar. At first, he didn't respond, but then slowly, his lips parted. Just a sip. Then another. Jack watched silently. He didn't speak. He didn't move. After a few minutes, Lar made a soft sound. Not a word. Not a cry. But a sound. Alive. Jack exhaled with relief. "He hasn't made a sound in days," Sela whispered. I thought he was fading." Jack looked at her, dark circles under her eyes, mud on her arms. One side of her shirt burned and torn, and yet she held the spoon steadily, like her life depended on it. "Where are the others?" he asked. Sela looked toward the forest. "Still hiding. I didn't want to bring them all. If this was a trap." Jack frowned. "I don't trap people." "I didn't know," she said softly. "You were kind, but kindness is rare. I've been tricked before." Jack nodded slowly. He understood. Trust wasn't something that came easy, not when you'd lost everything. He stood up. "Finish feeding him. Then you're taking me to the others." She looked surprised. "You want to see them?" "I need to," Jack said. "I need to know who I'm risking everything for." Sela said nothing, but her lips trembled slightly. She gave a slow, grateful nod. An hour later, they walked deep into the forest. Sela carried Lar on her back, wrapped tightly in the cloth. Jack followed close, eyes scanning the trees, hand near his knife, just in case. They reached a small hill covered in vines and leaves. Beneath it, hidden behind broken branches, was the wreckage of a ship. Burned, bent, half buried in soil. It looked like it hadn't flown in years. Sela pulled away a thin metal door and ducked inside. Jack followed, his eyes adjusted to the darkness, and he saw them, 2 more alien children, a boy and a girl. They sat close together on a pile of blankets made from old insulation foam. Their eyes widened when they saw Jack. Sela knelt beside them and touched their heads gently. "It's okay. This is the human I told you about. He brought food. The key. Girl looked afraid. The boy stood, trying to look brave. Are you going to take us away? The boy asked. Jack shook his head. No, I'm going to take you home. The children looked confused. Sella looked overwhelmed. She whispered, Why are you helping us? Jack looked around the wreck. No heat, no clean water. A pile of moldy food wrappers. Rats in the corner. He saw something else too. A small drawing, carved into the wall. A circle with 3 smaller circles inside. A family. He took a breath. Because I can't walk away and pretend I didn't see this. Sella sat down slowly, holding Lar against her chest. Her shoulders shook. I tried so hard, she said. I didn't want to steal. I just wanted them to live. Every day I wake up afraid they'll die while I'm gone. Jack knelt beside her. You did what any mother would do. He looked at the kids. Come on, he said. Let's go. Go where? The girl asked. Jack stood. To my barn. It's old, but it's dry, warm, safe, and if anyone comes, they'll have to go through me. That night, Jack opened the barn doors and laid out thick blankets, an old heater, and 3 bowls of warm soup. Sella and the children ate slowly, still unsure if it was real. Jack sat on the steps again, looking out at the stars. His land had always been quiet, but now for the first time in years it felt alive again, and he didn't regret a single thing. The hidden family. The barn creaked softly as the wind brushed its old wooden walls. For years it had stored tools, broken machines, and silence. Now, it held something far more important: life. Jack stood in the doorway, watching as Sella tucked her youngest into a makeshift bed of blankets and hay. The other 2 children sat nearby, slowly sipping warm soup. They still looked thin, but not hopeless. For the first time, they were safe, and that changed everything. The next morning, Jack returned with new supplies: an old mattress, a battery, lantern, and some children's clothes he'd bought from the market. He didn't ask for thanks. He just placed them down and got to work fixing the cracked windows. Sella watched quietly. Why do you keep helping? Jack didn't look up. Because someone should have helped me once, and no one did. She nodded, understanding more than words could say. While Jack worked, Sella made the space feel like a home. She cleaned, folded blankets, and used a bit of colored thread from her ship's wreck to hang small charms above the children's beds. They were shaped like stars. Memory markers, she explained softly. Each one holds a prayer. Jack didn't believe in prayers, but he didn't stop her. That evening after dinner, the children began to talk. The boy, Duro, was curious and brave. He asked Jack about Earth animals and why humans wore shoes everywhere. The girl, Raya, was softer. She spoke only after Sella nodded, answering quietly about colors, music, and their lost home in the Korai system. Jack listened more than he spoke. Every word added to the picture in his mind. A peaceful world destroyed by pirates. A father who died in an explosion. A mother who fled with nothing but 3 frightened children. A ship that crashed in the middle of nowhere. And no one came to help. Jack clenched his jaw. This wasn't just about food anymore. This was about justice. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Jack and Sella sat outside on 2 overturned crates. The stars above them blinked silently. Jack handed her a cup of warm water. What was your job and before? She looked up. I was a xenobotanist. Jack raised an eyebrow. That means... She smiled faintly. I studied alien plants, helped new colonies grow food. I loved making things grow in strange places. Jack looked at his own garden. Then I guess we're not so different. She turned to him. We are, but not in the ways that matter. Over the next week, their lives settled into a strange but steady rhythm. Jack worked the garden. Sella helped quietly from the barn, planting herbs she remembered from her home world. The children learned how to sweep, cook simple meals, and play games with pebbles and sticks. Raya made a doll from corn husks. Duro learned how to wash vegetables. Lar, the baby, slowly stopped coughing. His eyes opened wider each day. He reached out for Jack once, tiny blue fingers curling around the man's calloused thumb. Jack didn't pull away, but peace never lasted long. One afternoon, as Jack was returning from the village market with a sack of flour, his neighbor Mr. Halder stepped into the path. Halder was sharp-eyed and nosy, always chewing on a toothpick. "Jack," he said slowly, "you've been real busy lately." Jack adjusted the sack on his shoulder. "Farm needs work." Halder's eyes narrowed. "Heard noises from your barn. Thought it was empty." Jack stayed calm. "Just some animals nesting, mice probably." Halder stepped closer. "You sure? Saw some strange footprints near your field, small, round, like no animal I know." Jack didn't blink. "Probably just kids playing in the woods." Halder smiled coldly. "You and I both know there ain't any kids around here." A pause. "Jack," Halder said, voice lower now. "You hiding something?" Jack met his eyes. "Just trying to grow food and mind my own business." Halder stared for a moment longer, then nodded slowly. "Just don't bring trouble to our doorstep, neighbor." Jack watched him walk away. The moment he was gone, Jack dropped the flour and rushed back. Inside the barn, Sella was holding the children close. "You heard?" Jack asked. She nodded. "We should leave." Jack shook his head. "No, I won't let some fool chase you into the woods again. But if they come, then we make a plan." She looked into his eyes. "You're risking too much." "So, are you?" Jack said. "And yet, here we are." That night, Jack moved a heater into the barn. He covered the windows with thick cloth. He even placed a shotgun under the floorboards, just in case. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, Sella whispered lullabies in a soft, alien tongue. And Jack stood guard, not as a farmer, not even as a human, but as something stronger, a protector of a hidden family the world had forgotten. The day the neighbors noticed rain had fallen the night before. The earth was soft. Wet footprints marked the side of Jack's field, 3 small, round ones, and one larger, dragging slightly from him. Limp. They led straight from the edge of the forest to his barn, and someone saw them. Mr. Halder wasn't a kind man. He didn't care much for strangers, and he certainly didn't trust anything that wasn't human. So when he spotted the prints while checking his fence line, he followed them, quietly, carefully. He reached the barn but didn't go inside. He didn't need to. From the half-closed window, he saw shadows move, then a soft voice. Not English, not human. Halder's mouth curled into a bitter smile. He didn't knock. He didn't speak. He just turned around and walked away, straight to the town square. That evening, the whispers began. "Something's going on at Jack's place. I heard he's hiding aliens. He was always strange. That one. What if they're spies, or sick? Should we call the patrol?" By morning, the entire town was buzzing like a kicked wasp nest, and by sunset, trouble came walking. 3 trucks pulled up outside Jack's fence. 12 men stood on the gravel road, farmers, shopkeepers, one off-duty deputy, all angry, all afraid. They didn't come to talk. They came with flashlights, pitchforks, and gasoline. Jack stepped out of his house, shotgun resting over his shoulder. He didn't raise it. Not yet. Halder stood at the front of the group. "Want to see what's in your barn?" he said. Jack didn't move. "It's a storage shed. You've seen it before." "Not lately," Halder snapped, "and not with footprints coming and going." Jack's voice was steady. "You'll step foot on my land only if you're bringing kindness. If not, turn around." The deputy stepped forward. "Jack, don't make this harder. If you're hiding illegals." "They're not illegals," Jack growled. "They're children, starving ones." Gasps, a few angry murmurs. "So it was true. You brought aliens here? Someone shouted. What if they're dangerous? Jack's eyes narrowed. You're the ones holding fire. Inside the barn, Sela crouched behind a haystack, arms around her children. Raya's small hands shook. Duro bit his lip hard to stay silent. Little Lar clung to his mother's shirt, breathing fast. The glow of torches flickered through the cracks in the wood. Sela closed her eyes. Don't move. Don't make a sound. But even as she whispered, she smelled it. Smoke. Someone in the crowd had thrown a lit bottle. The barn wall flared, flames crawling up the side like angry vines. Sela screamed. Jack spun. The barn door burst open. Firelight poured out, and through it, Sela ran out coughing, holding Lar tight with Duro and Rhea stumbling behind her. The crowd froze. This wasn't a monster. This wasn't a threat. It was a mother, and 3 terrified children. Her foot slipped in the mud and she fell hard. Jack dropped the shotgun and ran. He reached them in seconds, scooped up Lar, and helped Sela stand. Her eyes were wild, full of panic and smoke. They were sleeping, she gasped. We didn't do anything. Wrong. Jack turned to face the town. His voice cracked the silence. Look at them. Everyone stared. No one moved. Are you afraid of that baby in my arms? Jack shouted. Afraid of a boy with a limp? A girl who plays with corn dolls? The fire crackled behind them. They didn't come to hurt us, they came to live. That mother begged me not for money, not for power, just for a chance to feed her children. A few people looked down. Some whispered. Others just stood frozen. Jack continued. You lit that fire. You almost killed them. Someone whispered. We didn't know. And now you do, Jack snapped. He turned to Sela, who stood shaking, in the rain, soaked and shivering, but not backing down. Her children clung to her legs. All 3 were crying. Jack looked back at the crowd. His voice softened. If this is what we've become, people who burn barns with kids inside, then maybe we're the ones who don't belong here anymore. Then something unexpected happened. Mrs. Tiller, the oldest woman in town, stepped forward. She held her umbrella tight and walked slowly through the crowd. She reached Sela, took off her shawl, and wrapped it gently around the alien woman's shoulders. She didn't say a word. She just looked at the children and smiled. Sela broke into tears, not from fear, but from something deeper, relief. One by one, others followed. Some handed Jack blankets. One brought a raincoat for the children. A young girl offered cookies from a tin box. Not everyone stepped forward, but enough did. Enough to show that hearts had changed. Enough to show that kindness was still alive. The fire died down. The barn was lost, but something else had been built that day. Something stronger. Jack stood beside Sela as the last of the crowd faded away. Her voice was barely a whisper. I thought they would kill us. Jack looked at the sky, now clear. They almost did. He turned to her. But you stood your ground, and now they've seen who you really are. Sela held her children tight, not as refugees, not as strangers, but as a family who finally had a chance. The truth revealed in fire. By morning, the barn was nothing but ashes. Blackened wood lay in piles where walls once stood. Bits of scorched metal and half-melted tools poked from the wreckage. Smoke still drifted into the air, slow and bitter. Jack stood in silence, boots deep in the mud, staring at what had been his barn and their home. Beside him, Sela held Lar in her arms. Duro and Rhea stood close to her legs, eyes wide and quiet. Not a word was spoken for a long time. And then Sela said what none of them could ignore. Where do we go now? The townspeople didn't return that morning, but the whispers did. In every shop, in every house, people talked about what happened. How Jack had stood in front of a mob, how the alien woman had run from the burning barn, holding a child who couldn't breathe. Some said she was brave, others still feared her, but no one could pretend they didn't know anymore. The fire had done what silence never could. It had shown the truth. Later that day, Jack took Sella and the children into his house. He cleaned out his guest room. He made beds from couch cushions and gave up his own bed for the baby. Sella tried to protest, but Jack just said, "You're not sleeping outside while I sleep in warmth. That's not how we do things here." She looked down. "You'll be hated for this," Jack shrugged. "I've been alone a long time. Hated doesn't scare me." That night, Sella sat by the fire, holding a cup of tea with both hands. The flickering light made her face look softer, but the sadness in her eyes hadn't gone. Jack sat across from her, arms resting on his knees. "You don't need to stay," she said quietly. "You've done enough. I can find another place. Somewhere, far." Jack looked at her, surprised. "You really think I'd let you go now? You've already lost your barn. You could lose your home next, or your land. Humans fear what they don't understand." Jack didn't speak for a moment. Then he leaned back and said, "They feared me once too, after the war, after my brother died and I came back different. I know what it's like to be looked at like you're broken or dangerous." Sella looked at him carefully. Jack nodded. "That's why I saw you. I mean, really saw you." Sella's hands shook slightly. "No one's ever said that to me," she whispered. The next day, someone knocked on the door. Jack opened it slowly and found Mrs. Tiller holding a basket of bread and a folded blanket. "I made extra," she said, "and I thought the little one might like this." Jack stepped aside without a word. Mrs. Tiller entered and found Sella in the corner, feeding Lar. The old woman walked up and gently placed the blanket over the child's legs. "Blue suits. Him," she said with a smile. Sella stared in shock. "You're not afraid?" Mrs. Tiller chuckled. "Afraid of a baby? I've buried more husbands than you've had birthdays." Sella laughed softly. It sounded strange, even to her. She hadn't laughed in weeks. Word began to spread again, but this time the whispers were different. People began showing up, quietly, shyly. One brought a bag of rice. Another donated an old heater. A schoolteacher dropped off children's books and coloring pencils. No speeches, no apologies, just small offerings of peace. Even some who had stood in the angry crowd 2 nights before came by to check the fence or drop off extra flour. They didn't say sorry, but their actions said enough. The mayor finally called a town meeting. Everyone came, even Jack and Sella. This time, there were no torches. No shouting, just heavy silence and folding chairs set in rows. The mayor stood up. He looked tired. He cleared his throat. "We made a mistake," he said plainly. "We reacted with fear. We acted without thinking." He looked at Sella directly. "You and your children. If you wish to stay, we will not stop you. But you must follow the rules. Registration, health scans, no hiding." Sella stood slowly. Her children watched from their seats. She spoke in a calm, clear voice. "I have never wanted to hide. I only wanted to protect them." The mayor nodded. "Then let us protect them now, too." That night, Jack sat on his porch again. The stars were out. Sella stepped beside him. She sat without asking. She was part of this place now. She looked up. "Do you think this will last?" Jack took a deep breath. "I think fire can destroy things, but sometimes it burns away what was broken and then you get a chance to rebuild." She looked at him. "You're not just a farmer," she said. Jack chuckled. "I used to be a soldier, then a ghost. Now, maybe, just a man who saw a hungry woman in his garden." Sella smiled. "A woman who's still sorry she took your carrots." Jack grinned. "Best thing anyone's ever stolen from me." They sat in silence for a while, not because there was nothing to say, but because sometimes peace speaks loudest when no one is talking. She faced the town, alone. The church bell rang once. It was old, rusted, and hadn't been used in years. But today, its echo rolled across the town like a warning and a promise. Everyone knew what it meant. The town meeting had begun. The small hall was packed. Wooden benches creaked under the weight of neighbors, shopkeepers, and farmers. Some whispered. Some stared at the floor. A few looked toward the door, waiting. Jack stood near the back, arms folded, face hard. He hadn't wanted her to speak. He had told her, "They won't understand." But Sella had placed a hand on his arm and said only, "Let me try." Now. She stood alone at the front of the room. No translator, no notes, just her voice, and her truth. The mayor cleared his throat. "Miss Sella of Korai, the floor is yours." She stepped forward. Her dress was plain, her face tired, but her back was straight, and her eyes were calm. "I speak," she began slowly, "as a mother, not as a soldier, not as a threat." A quiet hush fell over the room. "I did not land here by choice. I ran. My ship was damaged. My mate was killed. My babies cried in the dark, and I could not feed them." She took a breath. Not shaky, strong. "So, I walked. I walked through your forest. I stole from your land. I dug carrots from the ground, with my hands. I did this. Because hunger does not care about borders." A murmur in the crowd. Sella's voice grew firmer. "I did not come to invade. I came to survive." She looked directly at them. "At first I feared you. I thought humans were cold, hard. But one man changed that." Her eyes drifted to the back of the room, toward Jack. "He gave me water when I begged for it. He gave my child food. He gave me dignity when I had none left." Jack looked away, jaw tight. "I do not ask for your land. I do not ask for your gold or guns. I ask only for a chance to raise my children where they are not hunted, not hated, just allowed to breathe." She paused. "I know I look different. I know I sound different. But I love my children the same way you do. I carry fear in my heart every night like any mother." She lifted her sleeve and showed her scarred arm. "This is from the crash." She pulled her sleeve down and looked around the room. "But the deepest wound are not on my body. They are in my heart, from every time I had to tell my child, 'There is no food tonight.'" The room stayed silent. Then Sella said something no one expected. "If you ask me to leave, I will. I will not fight. I will go back to the cold, the dark, and the fear. But remember this." She stepped closer to the edge of the platform. "If you turn away a mother today, you teach your children to close their hearts tomorrow." A pause, a single breath. "Choose who you want to be." Then she stepped back and waited. The room didn't explode with applause. It didn't roar. But something shifted. A man in the front row, a teacher, stood up. He didn't speak. He just nodded, then a baker, then a mechanic, then a teenage girl with bright blue hair. One by one, people stood, not shouting, not clapping, just standing, because they understood. The mayor cleared his throat again. "Well, this is unexpected." He adjusted his collar, looking around the room. "I believe a vote is not needed." He looked at Sella, and his voice softened. "You and your children may stay, under full protection of this town. You are welcome here." Sella bowed her. "Ed, thank you." The mayor added, "And I would be honored if you would speak again at the Unity Day celebration." Gasps. Then soft smiles. The celebration hadn't been held in 3 years. Sella nodded. "Yes, I would be honored." After the meeting, as the people filed out, many came up quietly. One woman handed Sella a bag of bread. A boy gave her a tiny toy spaceship. Another whispered, "I'm sorry for being afraid." Sella took each gesture with grace, but when she reached Jack outside the hall, her legs gave way. He caught her before she hit the ground. "You did it," he said. She shook her head. "We did." He helped her to the bench. "I was terrified," she admitted. Jack chuckled. "You couldn't tell?" She looked at him, voice low. "Do you think they meant it? That I'm really safe now?" Jack looked toward the crowd. People, talking, smiling, nodding at her children. Then he looked back. I think you're not just safe. He paused. I think you're home. That night, the stars were brighter. Sela and her children slept in Jack's house no longer as guests, but as part of something bigger. Not a secret, not a shame, but a family. And when she closed her eyes, she whispered the same words to the stars that she had once said in the ruins of her ship. We survived again. But this time, we live. From thief to sister of Earth. 6 weeks after the fire, something unbelievable happened. The human town that once feared Sela now had a welcome sign in 2 languages, one in English, the other in flowing Korai script. It hung at the main road. All hearts welcome here. Below it, carved into wood by local hands, were the names of the 4 newcomers: Sela, Raya, Duro, Lar. The old barn was gone, but in its place stood something new, built from stone and steel and kindness. A small, strong shelter with solar panels, a water tank and heat for winter. The people who once gathered with pitchforks now gathered with hammers. Jack led the rebuild, but others followed without asking. Some came with tools, others brought food. A few brought nothing but their presence, and that was enough. Sela didn't ask for it, she tried to stop it, but one farmer told her, "You already gave us something. You showed us our own hearts," and no one could argue with that. Now the days were busy. Jack worked the garden, and Sela joined him, planting seeds from both Earth and Korai. Alien herbs grew beside green beans. Bright orange root bulbs from her homeworld sat peacefully next to Jack's potatoes. The children played without hiding. Rhea braided wildflowers into her hair and ran with the neighbor's dog. Duro carved shapes into soft wood and sold them at the weekend market. Little Lar, still learning to walk, became the favorite of the entire town. No one called them aliens anymore. They were simply the family at the hill farm. But beyond the town, news had spread far. Sela's speech from the town hall had been recorded. A reporter had shared the video online, and within days it reached people across Earth, and even orbiting stations. Some sent letters, some sent supplies. But one message stood out, an invitation from the Earth Alien Peace Council. They wanted Sela to speak at the Galactic Unity Summit. Jack read the letter twice before saying anything. "They want you," he said, blinking. Sela looked shocked. "Why me?" "Because," he said softly, "you're living proof that peace is possible, that fear can become family." She stared at the floor for a long moment. "But I'm just a mother." Jack smiled. Exactly. The summit was held in New Vienna, under a clear glass dome that looked out into the stars. People of all species sat in tall seats, long-necked aliens, scaled creatures, humans in formal jackets. Cameras floated silently above, capturing every moment. And when Sela walked out onto the stage barefoot, wearing a simple white robe stitched by hand, the room went completely silent. Not because she was beautiful, not because she was strange, but because she carried a quiet kind of power, the kind that comes only from surviving and still choosing love. She stood before the crowd, then spoke. "My name is Sela of Korai, but most days I am called Mama by 3 children who survived with me. I did not come to Earth to inspire. I came to beg. I came to steal food from a garden in the dark. I came with nothing but a child in my arms, and fear in my bones. I found kindness where I least expected it, from a man with rough hands and tired eyes. He could have turned me away. He didn't. That man showed me that sometimes all it takes is one heart to change many. I am not a soldier. I am not a hero. I am a mother. And that is enough. No applause, just silence. The kind of silence that only comes from deep listening." Then the council chair stood up and clapped, once, twice, and soon the room was filled with rising hands, stomping feet, and soft tears. Sela didn't bow. She didn't wave. She just stepped down and returned to her seat beside Jack. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He just took her hand and held it. After the summit, more changes came. A program called Hearts Without Borders was started, helping alien families in crisis find safe homes among human settlements. Sela was invited to be one of its founding advisors. She refused official power, but offered her voice. Every decision she made was guided by the simple question, would this help my children sleep peacefully? If the answer was yes, she agreed. If the answer was no, she walked away. One warm afternoon, as she sat in the garden picking herbs, a girl from another town ran up the hill with a letter. Sela opened it carefully. It was written in shaky English. Dear Sela, my name is Veli. I am from another planet. I saw your speech. I thought I was the only one like me. But now I know I am not. I hope to be brave like you someday. Thank you. Veli, age 10. Sela folded the letter slowly. She pressed it to her chest, and she cried. But this time, they were not tears of sorrow. In early autumn, the town held a celebration. They planted a tree at the edge of the garden, a tall, glowing-leafed plant from Sela's home planet. Jack dug the hole. The children placed the roots in the soil, and the mayor spoke quietly before placing a plaque, the Sela tree, from stranger to sister of Earth. Below that, may this tree remind us, kindness grows where fear once lived. The crowd clapped. A breeze carried petals across the grass. Sela stood at the front, holding Lar in her arms, her other hand resting on Ria's shoulder. Duro held Jack's hand. This wasn't a moment for cameras. This was a moment for hearts. That night, Jack and Sela sat on the porch again, just like they had months ago. No fire, no threats, just peace. Sela looked up at the stars. I still miss my planet, she said. I know, Jack said, but Earth, it has given me something I didn't expect. What's that? He asked. She smiled gently. A future, and far away in towns and villages and stations across space, other mothers listened to her story. Other children repeated her name. Not as a legend, not as a hero, but as something stronger, proof that one act of mercy can change an entire world.